Cheers. Welcome to episode 15 of the Drive-By Podcast. I'm Freeway Frank. Wouldn't this be the perfect spot for a beer company to endorse, to sponsor the podcast? This would be the perfect spot. But unfortunately, I'm too controversial. You know, every podcast I watch mostly comes out of America, and they're about anywhere between 10 to 100 times more controversial than I am. Sometimes I'm at a loss for words. Sometimes I go back and I listen and I watch. By the way, thank you for tuning in this week. It's a solo session, another solo session. No one is sitting across from me, just my alter ego and other personalities, the many ones that I have. So basically, I've gone back and looked at, some of my material and content, not because I'm questioning anything I'm doing, but I'm like, what's the controversy? Oh, because I speak my mind, because I'm not afraid to speak the truth, because I'm not afraid to say what I mean and mean what I say, to wear my heart on my sleeve. Imagine that. So, no beer sponsorship, but man, it would be so good. It would be so good. It would be tasty and profitable. And this podcast is either or. Yeah. You're probably wondering why I'm wearing it looks like I'm wearing a bandana. This is not a bandana. You're probably wondering why, the people who have figured it out, why I'm wearing a mask on my forehead, because it's probably just as effective to wear it there in this position than in the usual position at this point. Here in Quebec, the government just announced they're extending the mask mandate until April 30th, I believe. Another 2 weeks. Where have we heard that before? 2 weeks to flatten the curve, 2 weeks for our extension, our mask mandate extension. Then it'll be 2 weeks for something else. Here's what I don't understand. And I've been getting a lot of DMs via my socials from a lot of people saying the exact same thing. But it can be most of the population is asleep. And by the way, I am not trying to trigger people who still feel comfortable wearing a mask and will continue to do so after the mask mandate is lifted now on April 30th here in Quebec. I have no problem with people wearing masks. I have a problem with them mandating it still. We're the only place, as far as I can tell, in North America, only province, only place. Look at all the 50 states in America. They're going through a 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. I don't even know what wave we're on anymore. I think it's the 6th wave. And we're the only place that has extended this mask mandate. And it drives me absolutely crazy. And again, I don't think most people are asleep. By now, most people should have figured out what is truly going on here. So I'm not about to get into a mask discussion and debate again for the 100th time, because I was one of the first people in March of 2020 telling everybody and their aunt and uncle and whoever would listen that we need to wear masks. When doctors in the medical community and everybody else was saying, no, masks, don't do that. Masks don't work. Then all of a sudden, the science changed. It got adjusted and masks work. No, let's be honest. I've had discussions and I've had some people aim some criticism at me and say, oh, there he goes again with, I spoke to some doctors. No, I have had real life conversations with real doctors, not chiropractors or other doctors who I'm not taking anything away from those people, by the way. I'm talking medical doctors, surgeons, some of the top people in their field who off the record told me nothing's really changed in 2 years with masks. But we've all signed up for it because what? And then that sentence never ends, never finishes, because they don't want to say it. We've all signed up. I'd like to finish that sentence. We've all signed up for the optics. In other words, if this is what needs to be done, and we need to support the government, and the government needs to support the medical community, then we're all going to be a part of this charade together to protect our own asses when shit hits the fan. And we're going through another wave now. And by the way, we've been wearing masks throughout the 5th, 4th, 3rd wave, and we're still wearing masks. We're still in a wave. It's not like it's being reduced by wearing masks. It's not. And in Ontario now, they're thinking of bringing it back because they lifted the mask mandate. And they're saying, well, it's because we stopped wearing masks. No, we never stopped wearing masks here in Quebec. We never did. And we're in another wave. Stop selling that story. Stop selling that narrative. It's look, we're not idiots. I know we're practically imbeciles for believing this for as long as we have, but we're not idiots. I always say, I wasn't born yesterday. I was born the day before. So please don't fool the fooler. It is unbelievable to me. It is absolutely insane. I'm in my backyard cleaning, a little bit of, it was a nice weather day today in Montreal, 11 degrees, which is about, 55 Fahrenheit for our American friends who don't have to wear masks. Hi, people Canadians like to criticize because they're insecure. And all I see in my yard are masks. Surgical masks, N95 masks, cow print masks, leopard masks, branded masks, N95s, as I said. I must have picked up like literally one of each. It was unbelievable. It's like when you do the laundry and socks go missing. Socks go missing all the time. I always find 7 socks and the other one is always missing. So it should have 14, but it's 7 different socks. 7 different masks today I found in the backyard as I was cleaning up, and I was picking it up with my gloves. Disgusting. And I thought to myself, come on, when is this farce going to end? I don't think I need to go down this road again. But when the rest of the world seems to have gone on and continued, and we had a Justin Bieber concert here at the Center in Montreal, 21,000 spectators, fans, audience members. The Montreal Canadiens played to a capacity crowd. They've been playing better. Full crowd now. Last NHL team to jump on board the full capacity crowd. People are drinking their beer. Do I even have to? I don't even have to do this. They have the mask. It's a chin diaper. Then it's a bandana. Then it's I don't know what else for. Then they take a sip. Then they put the mask back on. Then who are we fooling? Who are we fooling? As my friend would say, is this a joke? At this point, it is beyond a farce. It's beyond lunacy. We're accepting this stupidity. I was having a conversation with my friend the other day, and I was like, bro, I understand what you're saying. He's much more intelligent than I am. And he was really going after me on some stuff. And I said, look, can we at least agree? And he agreed that this whole mask debacle is completely and utterly out of control now. It's gone to the point where they have the mask now. The Quebec government is enforcing it for 2 more weeks to protect their own asses in case shit hits the fan, which, by the way, shit's not going to hit the fan. The hospitalizations are nowhere close. They're increasing because there's more cases and there's a 6th wave. But again, this never ends. The rest of the world has continued. The rest of the world has gone on. They're dealing with it. And many doctors have come out. Many people, smarter than you and I, maybe not you, smarter than I, have come out and said, we need to learn to live with it. Many of these doctors have disappeared. The doctors you've seen for 2 years straight on television, somehow miraculously, ta-da, magic, they're gone. Because it's over. Okay? This thing, COVID's not over. This thing stays with us. But the hysterics and the charade needs to end. And the alarmists, if you want to continue wearing a mask, wear a mask. I'm not saying don't wear one. I'm saying stop forcing people to do things they don't want to do. Let's get on with it. Let's open up our border to everybody. Let's open up our transportation to everybody. Let people leave. Canada's the only country in the world an unvaxxed person can't get on a plane. And it's just ridiculous. And there's 20,000 people at a hockey game, 20,000 people at a Justin Bieber concert, all singing, a baby, babe, and spitting all over the place. Who are we kidding? Now, if there's one person here that wants to comment that I've lost my marbles, because I've heard it from several people. Frank's got the crazy eyes. He's the crazy eyes. He's lost his mind. I haven't lost my mind. I'm still trying to follow some kind of logic here. This is a charade. This is a drama class, 7th grade, with a horrible teacher. Let's call him Justin Trudeau or François Legault, Doug Ford. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's at a point where we're being laughed at by people now, okay? We're being laughed at. It's time to move on. It's time to lift this, and it's time to take this and get rid of it. If you still want to wear it, I have no problem. I know there's going to be a lot of people with a PTSD-style disorder for months and months, years and years after this, stressed, won't be able to deal with not wearing a mask. There's a lot of kids who are going to grow up more secure than ever. I see kids outside high schools and grade schools. I drive by here in my neighborhood, and they're wearing masks by themselves walking down the street. Am I the idiot here? I'm not saying they're the idiot. They're not idiots. They've been indoctrinated. They've been told and fed this thing, and they're wearing a mask by themselves walking down the street. This is not healthy. This is not normal, especially not in April 2022. I just want life to continue and us to drop the theatrics. This is not Broadway in New York. We're not watching a show anymore. This is real life. It's over. These kids, as I said, are all going to grow up more insecure than ever now, because I'm convinced a lot of kids are wearing the mask to cover their acne. Oh yeah, like in the morning, it's easier, instead of to just put the mask and no one will see me. I'm convinced. I may have done it many years back. If I was living through COVID as a high schooler, I would say, oh God, just wear a mask. No one's going to see my zit today. I think that's what's happening. I think we're in big danger. We need to have talks with our kids, make them understand it's okay. It's okay. We all go through puberty. We all go through, a time in our lives where our body changes, and this will only temporarily hide those things. But it's not protecting you. It's not protecting you anymore. No, that leopard print mask is not protecting you. Sorry to tell you, because if it was, we would have got this under control a long time ago, but it isn't, and it doesn't. And I'm not about to say that word. It starts with a W, and with a K. More beer. This is the only one I've had, by the way. Crazy eyes. Ooh, he's crazy. I did that a couple of times in the past to my wife, and never call a woman crazy, by the way. As a joke, I would, she's crazy. Like if ever I got into some kind of debate or argument, oh boy, was that the wrong thing to say. Never say that word. Oh. You live and learn, and in my case, you live and never learn. Which brings me to, I was thinking about this the other day. When I lived in Alberta, I was really close to my boss at a radio station I worked in Alberta. And we used to, at the time, I was a meat eater, and we'd go over to his home for big barbecues, and we'd eat, steaks and whatever, and have these great meals that he would have me as the official, roaster and barbecuer, because he said I did a great job, and he would make all the drinks. And he was a very generous guy, very unique, but very generous. And he'd have us all over, and we'd go over there a lot and have these great meals. And I remember one time he was making me a drink, and he didn't have a spoon. And he literally, I'm not making this up, after finishing the drink, he puts his finger in the drink and starts to stir it, and then hands it over to me with a straight face. And at a certain point, I thought, he's joking, right? I mean, this is a joke. He wasn't joking. He goes, Frank, come on, I wash my finger. And I go, you kidding me? Find a spoon, find anything, a fork, a knife, anything, not your finger. He goes, Frank, this is what we do in other parts of Canada. And if you're watching this from any other part of Canada, he mentioned, I shouldn't even mention the places he said they do this. Because I don't want to insult the places, because somebody might be watching from one of those provinces and say, we don't put our fingers in our drinks to stir. But then I saw another friend of mine in Alberta do this. And by the way, both these individuals weren't originally from Alberta. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it. They were other parts of the country. But apparently it's a thing. Putting your finger in a drink and stirring your drink after you make it, it's a thing. I think it might be, maybe it's a thing when you're making your own drink. It's not a thing when you're making somebody else's drink. That's disgusting. I'm sorry, that's extremely disgusting. But it reminded me of that. Justin Bieber, I was just talking about Justin Bieber. First of all, I didn't watch a minute of the Grammy Awards. Growing up, I couldn't wait to watch the Grammys. Remember Lionel Richie? Outrageous! Anyone who grew up in my era remembers Lionel Richie and all his victories, and I think he hosted a few times, and he'd always say words like, outrageous! When I finally met Lionel Richie, who's a classic, he's a beauty. I think I remember saying that to him in my interview with him, and I'm sure a million other people did, and he laughed. And that's when the Grammys were great. You know, that's when the Grammys were truly great. What the heck is going on? I didn't watch a minute of it. I didn't have to watch a minute of it. I could just see the highlights as people were posting, and I was like, thank God I'm not watching this crap. And Justin Bieber wearing his oversized suit, you know, I made a joke, and I tagged my tailor, because my tailor, many times I walk into my tailor, they're great guys, two guys here in Montreal, and you know, I've had some suits made in the past. Now I don't go anywhere. So what suits am I going to have done? But every time it'd be like, Frank, we need about 6 weeks. So then I made a joke like, you know, when your tailor tells you it'll take 6 weeks to make your suit. And then I showed the picture of Justin Bieber wearing the oversized suit. The oversized suit. What the hell was that? That was crazy, but whatever works. He's an artist, and I guess you know, everybody, Lady Gaga has worn some crazy outfits over the years. Doesn't matter who the artist is. Self-expression, I'm all cool with that. I'm all cool with self-expression. If we are being told we need to start wearing certain things to be cool, or certain things to fit in, or being told, you know, we're something we're not, maybe, that's a totally different ball game. But I was less offended by Justin Bieber wearing that suit. I know a lot of people were bothered by it. It was like, look at him, what is he doing? Isn't he? What an embarrassment. I was less offended by that. I was more offended by seeing the videos of Justin Bieber in Montreal saying, you know, he's a Leafs fan. He's born and raised in the Toronto area, right? Just outside of Toronto. And so he's a big Leafs fan. He's friends with Austin Matthews. But on the night of his concert here in Montreal, he said some things about, you know, the Montreal Canadiens. And what did his fans do? They booed him. Because that's what Montrealers do. We don't give a shit about anything. We don't care if we're there to watch you. We're going to remind you at some point, if you fuck up, we're going to remind you where you are, and you're in our territory, and F you for being a Leafs fan. Which I'm okay that he's a Leafs fan, but to rub it in, it's never a good thing. I'm telling you right now. It's never a good thing when you moved, especially Montreal. In other places, like when I moved to Toronto, you could get away with it because half of Toronto is Montreal, right? During the first referendum, half of Quebec escaped, all the Anglos escaped to Ontario. So you wear a Habs jersey in Toronto, you get applauded. There's always someone, go Habs, or anywhere across, anywhere. You wear a Leafs jersey in Montreal, and you might get assassinated, very possibly. So it's just a different territory. So I wouldn't recommend anybody who comes to Montreal, you know, I mean, we're not going to kill you. If you go watch the Habs in Toronto, you're wearing a Leafs jersey, that's one thing. You might be a little harassed, but, you know, it's not like going to Boston. I would never go to Boston and wear a Montreal Canadiens jersey because there might be some drunk guy who loses it and, you know, sucker punches you for no reason. I mean, smarter than that. And I love my team, but and I'll go down with the ship, but there are a lot of crazy people in this world more than ever, so you got to be careful. But I thought it was very strange for Justin Bieber to do that, because most people will come to town, whether it's a comedian, like comedian Sebastian Maniscalco, he'll wear that, somebody gave him a Habs jersey, he wore the Habs jersey. I'm sure he's from the Chicago area. I don't even know if he's a sports fan, but I'm not saying that Justin Bieber should wear, no, if Justin Bieber wore a Habs jersey, I would be repulsed by that, because we know he's not a Habs fan, and I respect the fact that he has his own, team. He cheers for his own team, and wearing a Habs jersey would be fake, because we know that's a whole bunch of bullshit. So I'd rather him be honest, yes, but then do it the way he did it. Montrealers and Bieber fans booed him, and they let him have it, and they reminded him, you can't do that here. So I thought that was pretty cool that they reminded him he was in enemy territory. Disney has removed the words boys and girls. And somebody from Disney World in Florida, I'm not sure if they did it. They may have done it in Disneyland in Anaheim as well, but I know they did it in Florida. They will no longer be addressing their customers, their young customers, kids, as boys and girls. I was watching a news program. I can't remember who the person was. They were debating this, and somebody said, so this is not me saying it, but I thought may as well be me, because it was pretty good and something that I would say. They've been building fantasy worlds for so long. This is the first thing I thought. Wait, Disney World? Right? They've been building fantasy worlds so long, they think the rest of us live in them. I thought it was brilliant. And it is insane to me, this crazy woke culture that is so out of control in 2022. More than ever, things have gotten, worse in this domain, and will continue to get worse when you have companies, and I had somebody I know say to me, well, Frank, they're a big company, and if that's what they want to do to modernize and get with the times, then, I applaud them and tip my hat. And I'm like, so wait a minute. Their biggest clients are boys and girls. And they're basically giving a big FU to all their clients, young clients, saying, we'll no longer address you as boys and girls anymore to accommodate the world we live in. And because not everybody identifies as boys and girls. And look, I've said this many times. I get it. There are people that don't identify as either. But why can't boys continue to be boys and girls be girls and trans be trans? Why can't we continue down a road that I believe is it's a biological one, whichever way you look at it, whether it's not the right thing to say. I know saying this is completely wrong. You might have protesters outside, your studio, or following you all around and harassing you for saying this. I'm not saying for the millionth time I don't believe in trans rights. Of course I do. But if that comes at the expense of eliminating biological males and biological women to accommodate the years of suffrage, and the world has hurt these people from not acknowledging them, and if that comes at the expense of women, and specifically women's sports, and it jeopardizes their future, then I'm not for it. I'm completely for trans rights. I'm completely for trans competition. It doesn't even bother me, if Disney said, we're gonna put in a washroom for non-binary, or we're gonna put in a washroom for people who don't associate with either. This is a neutral bathroom. I would even accept that before accepting a complete elimination and obliteration of biology, which is boys and girls. There is such a thing, whether you like it or not. And that's what most of the planet believes. And you're not going to change people's minds. You can indoctrinate all you want. You could keep saying it over and over again. You could get every company on the planet to change. But the fact of the matter is, that is the truth. A man and a woman exists, period. And so here we are again having this discussion. And then the Disney cruises, or whatever it's called, I don't even know. I mean, a lot of people I know have been on these cruises with their kids. They port in countries that are anti-gay, but they still go to those countries. Many of these countries torture gay people. Many of these countries kill them. They have anti-gay laws, and they're still going to these countries with their cruise ships. Something's not right. Something's not right. It's so, the message is so inconsistent. It's kind of like Nike, the Nike brand, and China, and LeBron James, and the genocide happening in China. And it's unbelievable to me that we pick and choose, not we, not me, but a certain segment of the population, will pick and choose certain things to bring to the forefront and try to change, and they get it done. It's this very small but loud minority that is changing the world for the better. No, not for the better. Everyone deserves to live freely. Everyone deserves to have rights, but not again when it comes to the expense of changing the definition. And this is not me saying something out of this world and morally wrong, and this is the truth. There is such thing as a man, and there is such thing as a woman. And when a Supreme Court judge is not willing to answer that question, but they pounded the other Supreme Court judge during the time of the Trump administration with just as ridiculous questions when it came to abortion, right? But then when the other side asks ridiculous questions to this judge, they don't want to answer those questions. Well, ridiculous. What's a woman? Oh, you don't? Yeah, no one wants to go down that road. No, of course. No one wants to go down the road of being honest, because the majority of the people will tell you what a woman is and what a man is. And you shouldn't be afraid to hold on to those reins and cut through this crowd of outspoken and out of control people and stand your ground and say, no, this is what I truly believe in. Because allowing thoughts like this to take over the world and change the world like this is bringing us down dark times. Whichever way you look at it, this is not a good thing. It's not. And again, I'm all for equality, but not when it comes to the expense of utter. I mean, I'm not going to even call it stupidity. It's a complete farce what's going on. And most of the world is sitting back, like all the other things have gone on in the last couple of years, and just accepting it. Yeah, okay, yeah, I guess this is the next thing. No boys, no girls, no Walt Disney. Yeah, and then 2 more weeks for this. Yeah, and then the next big thing is going to be. See now, the government of France. I know there's an election coming up next weekend in France, but unless I misread, and I don't want to quote anything because I would have to go through it, and because trust me, someone will bring it up and say, no, that's not a fact. But apparently, they're eliminating certain routes for climate change, flight routes for climate change. I mean, this is what I'm saying. This never ends. And now they took this much, and then they took this much, and you gave up this much, and you gave up this much, and now they're going to take it all because they can. We've given them that opportunity to do so. I had a guest on last week, so I didn't really get into the whole Chris Rock, Will Smith debacle during the Oscars. Another horrible award show I didn't watch. The only time I started watching it is when I heard this mess was occurring, this craziness where, Will goes up. And by the way, never did I think it was fake. I know a lot of people suggested it was fake, and never did I believe that. But I had mentioned it last week with my guest on. He hadn't watched it. I wasn't watching it. The Oscars is it's a farce. It's bullshit. Hollywood is bullshit. More than ever, people have realized during COVID, we don't care about these people. I mean, the people that care about these people are, for the most part, just as shallow as the people that live underneath the Hollywood sign. And it proves to me, after what happened at the Oscars, when they applauded Will Smith after what he did, when he violently slapped and physically assaulted Chris Rock. And then everybody, had I done that or you done that, we would have been escorted out of the theater, probably put into a paddy wagon and jailed and arrested, right? No, that doesn't happen to Will. And then he goes up and he accepts his Best Actor award. Getting back to the fake, real, not real, this was totally real. And of course, he's come out since, resigned from the Academy, whatever he did. I don't even know anymore. Who cares? But the bottom line is, had it been fake, why would he risk the biggest night of his life, possibly winning this award, which he ended up winning, and jeopardize, that speech and that beautiful moment in his life to accommodate the Academy, to come up with this crazy skit where on a worldwide stage, he physically assaults one of the biggest comedians on the planet to protect his wife. Kind of insane. And that's why never for a moment did I doubt that was a fake moment. It was real from the beginning. And what he did was, I don't even know, I have to say it, utterly disgusting. And what Hollywood did, and then did they give him a standing ovation and they applauded him after he started talking about love and all? This is 2022. This is 2022. And in 2021, people like me who hosted, whether it's a podcast or whatever, would say, this is 2021. And then in 2020, this is 2020. I mean, we've been saying this, I don't know how long I've been saying the year and saying, this is the year. Yeah, this is the year we're in. I mean, because I never recall. Stupidity has been with us for so long during our lifetime. But this kind of wokeness and out of controlness and utter lunacy, it just keeps getting, just when you think it can't get any worse, you hear another story, you read another story, and you're like, what? This is absolutely out of control, man. It's just absolutely out of control. Black Lives Matter, not if it's Chris Rock. No. Then nobody. The only people that came in, to Chris Rock's defense, normal people who saw what was going on and they knew that it wasn't right. And other comedians who obviously are fearful of what their act might become. I know a lot of comedians, have a lot of comedian friends, and I'm telling you, there's no doubt in my mind they've thought about, or at least it's crossed their mind. I'm not saying they would change their repertoire, they would change their jokes. That's not the kind of comedian friends I have. They're all about freedom of speech, but against censorship of any kind. But let me tell you, it's crossed their minds. It's crossed their minds in the last couple of weeks, week and a half since this happened. You've been to comedy clubs. You've been there when people start, the hecklers, people start yelling and thinking that they're part of the show, and they're usually drunk. They've had a few too many of these, and they start, heckling the comedian. People have walked out of comedy clubs. I'm sure people have been assaulted in the past, stories we haven't even heard of or never really hit the news. But after you see a moment like this happen on the biggest stage, even though it's the most lowest rated award show in the world, the Oscars now, and they would probably need a moment like that to bring the ratings up, hence why many people thought it was fake. But the biggest award show in the world, and here we are in 2022 accepting this like it's something that happens. Yeah. And people get fired up. People, might get mad. You've seen fights break out at a wedding. You've seen arguments happen at the workplace. Sometimes physical assaults. So it happens. It's normal. People are we're human. Things happen. No. Things happen, yes, but there are repercussions when these things happen. And when they happen on the Oscar stage, we can't just applaud the guy who won the Best Actor award and accept it and say, well, he has obvious mental health issues, and we'll accept it. We'll just sweep it under the rug and suivre on next. No, that's not how it works. So, I'm at a loss for words. It's unbelievable to me now that this would give the green light to any lunatic, any nut on the planet to rush a comedian on the stage. And I've even had a couple of people DM me saying, well, then comedians need to watch what they're saying and realize that they could be next. What planet are we living on? So these people now all of a sudden say that it's okay. Oh yeah, like if anybody ever said that against my mother or my wife, yeah, I would rush the stage and do the same thing. Listen, it's hurtful when people say things about the people that you love. If it's in the context of a comedy show or in the context of a joke, that's one thing. Yes, people have gone too far. Yes, people have crossed the lines. It doesn't give anybody the right to rush the stage and pop somebody or slap somebody. No, that's not how it works. Everybody talks about these rules in society and for the greater good, but notice how the greater good goes out the window. The greater good is only when, we're all trying to be a part of these theatrics, and what they tell you the greater good is. But the greater good goes out the window when it's your feelings are offended. Then I'm going to sucker punch somebody or slap them in the face and embarrass them or whatever the case. Then it's okay to hit somebody. Greater good. There's malnourished children in certain parts of the world at a crazy rate where if everybody sent $1 to these kids or these people, it's over. That's the greater good. But no, we're going to virtue signal. We're going to remind everybody what this small, quiet, woke population, part of the population, tells you the greater good is. They're going to keep pounding that message ad nauseum until they guilt you out and force you to do everything you don't want to do and partake in all these things in society you don't want to participate in because they're wacky and crazy. But this is the road we're going down, and this is what we've experienced more than ever in our lifetime in the last 2 years, and there's no end in sight. And they're all related, by the way. They're all related. There's no doubt in my mind that all these events are somehow related because, the pot is boiling and it's starting to overflow, and it's going to be a messy stovetop, and we are already there. I was on a podcast last week, and somebody asked me the question. The podcaster asked me the question, where do you think this started? Where do you think, this began? Where do you think it ends? This craziness. And I said, no. I quoted the Billy Joel song, being an 80s child. We didn't start the fire. It was always burning since the world's been turning. As tacky and cheesy as that line sounds, it's to a T. It's true. This has always been with us, right? But it just keeps overflowing. It's been boiling. It's not like the pot stopped boiling at some point. It's been boiling, and it's now completely out of control. It's just unbelievable. Honestly, it's at a point where every day you read something, every day you have a conversation with somebody, every day you hear another crazy thought, or somebody tries to push some crazy thought into your mind, almost like they so believe it, and then they think you are somebody who's been indoctrinated by these conspiracy theorists and all that. But you have to remind them that, no, I have not participated in any of these things. Zero. None of these things. And I don't criticize you for participating in any of those things. If you felt a need to participate in all these things, no problem. I didn't. So how am I the person that has been indoctrinated? I said no. I'm okay. And because that person said yes to everything, they almost feel like, in a way, that as all these other crazy things start coming to the forefront, but now, boys and girls, and, it's not acceptable, and there's people who don't identify as both, so what Disney's doing is protecting their... And it's like almost like it's a domino, right? And people who I thought made sense don't make sense anymore. Now, obviously, I don't make sense to them, but I haven't changed anything. I'm the same person. If anything, they have accepted all this I call nuttiness, and I'm not for things necessarily staying the same forever. That's not what I'm about, right? But I'm also somebody who is not ashamed of history or biology or facts. People are like, well, where did you get those facts? You're not a doctor. You're an ex-radio host. What do you know? Well, you're right. I don't know. But from what I read, from what I see, I think I have enough intelligence to figure out, and I've said it many times on my podcast. It should almost bear the name. That should be the name of the podcast. Something doesn't smell right with Freeway Frank. Used to be the drive-by. Something doesn't smell right. It's just something doesn't feel right. Something doesn't smell right. And, if you tell somebody any of this stuff in person, there's a good chance if they don't yell at you right in your face, they might slap you like Will Smith, because people have lost their ability to, they're cool. They've lost their cool. They've lost their ability to think critically. And that doesn't make me, by the way, these are just my thoughts. These are just my opinions. It doesn't make me a better person. There's a lot of things that I have said that have annoyed people, that have upset people. And that's okay, because there's a lot of people that have said things to me that upset and bothered me. But I'm not going to take a bat to them. You get what I'm saying? I'm not going to pick up a rock and throw it at them. But I'll end it off with this. I remember having a boss when I was working. I was maybe 15, 16 years old. And those were very sensitive times in Quebec. We had a referendum, a couple of years before. Another referendum was brewing a couple of years. We were away from another referendum. The climate in Quebec was very Franco versus Anglo, independence. The separatist movement is not, was not where it is today. I'm not saying it's dead, but it's not in the same place. And my boss was a hardcore separatist. He was hardcore Parti Québécois separatist of the 1980s. And by the way, I had friends who were separatists, and I played hockey with, and I never had a problem. But he was, and I knew he was a firecracker, and I knew I couldn't have these discussions with him. But being a federalist, being somebody who loved Canada, and I really liked this guy, we would have little debates until one day he lost his cool. Now, this was a long time ago. This is not 2022, but it's kind of like the same way. And that's what I now look back on and say, that moment is exactly the moment that we're in again, because history does repeat itself. I said something, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something like maybe like, my Canada, I'm Canadian first, and it includes Quebec, and I'm a Quebecer, and I'm just as much a Quebecer as you are, but I'm Canadian. And my boss, who I thought loved me, because we had a really good, relationship, cool guy, he was holding a book, and I was working at the Royal Victoria Hospital at the time, the old Royal Vic here in Montreal, before all these hospitals merged together for one super hospital. They had the old Royal Victoria Hospital, beautiful place, which is now maybe overrun by rats. Maybe it was already overrun by rats, hence why they moved out to a new site. But I'll never forget it. He had a book, pretty heavy book, where he would, it was like a log book for our department. He took the book and he did his old wind-up like a baseball pitcher, and he threw it at me. And I remember thinking to myself, if I go home and tell my dad, I can't remember how old I was, maybe 16, 17. I was already a young man, so I wasn't going to go cry to my dad. But I remember if I go home and tell my dad, he's going to drive straight and knock this guy out, right? It's like, no one's going to touch my son. But so I get hit by this book really hard. And the only other time somebody threw something at me was an ex-girlfriend in Vancouver in the 90s. She threw something at me too. I can't remember what it was. And I remember getting hit in the chest. And I was like, and she was sweet, but I don't know. She lost her cool. She threw something and it hurt. And then once, really early on in the relationship, somebody else, I'm not going to, not going to mention names, threw a zucchini at me. And I made it very clear, if you ever throw something at me again, it's over. Because we do not hit each other. We do not launch vegetables, fruits, objects at each other. No. That's not how I work. But when this boss hit me with a book, and it's because I said I was Canadian first, I mean, the edge of the book hit my chest, and there was a mark, and I was like, and all I could say is, you're insane. And that got him even more. I'll never tell somebody they're crazy after they do something crazy, God forbid. And he walked away and didn't talk to me literally for, just left me at my job and position for a good, I would say, couple of weeks till he finally, I said, at some point, I'm just warning you, I'm going to either have them launch an investigation and file something against you for assaulting me, or you're going to have a discussion man to man, all right, because I don't want you to lose your job. We're going to have a discussion together, and we're going to get through this and move on. And he chose for us to have a discussion. And we did. And he said he was very hurt and he got very emotional when I told him I was a Canadian first, because he was a separatist. He was a Quebecer. And he said, if you're from Quebec, you should be a Quebecer first. And I said, no. When I lived, even when I lived in Ontario, I wasn't an Ontarian first. I wasn't a British Columbian first. I wasn't an Albertan first. No, I'm Canadian first. And sorry to tell you this, I'm going to throw something even on top of that that's going to mess up a whole bunch of other people. I'm also Italian first. Okay, that's where my blood comes from. So Italian Canadian. Don't like it? Too fucking bad. That's just the way it is. We got through that moment, but what that moment taught me is some people are triggered and you just can't say shit to them. And this is the world we live in right now. We live in a triggered world. And so this is a warning to everybody, including myself. I should take the advice that certain words and certain things and certain opinions trigger people. And if you have to apologize for that, like a lot of people do on social media, I saw somebody post something the other day where she was wearing a Sarah Palin 2024 t-shirt, okay? And she said, just so you know, this is not an endorsement. There's a reason why I'm wearing this t-shirt. I don't want to trigger anybody. The minute you have to mention that, the minute you have to tell people why you're making the joke or why, then they're already in your head, okay? But realize that we live in a triggered world, and at any point, someone could come up to you and sucker punch you for something that you said. And by then, it's too late. Meaning, at that point, you'll have to get up and punch them right back if you deem that the right reaction. Charge them with physical assault, or tell them to F off and walk away, or whatever the case is. But at that point, it's too late. But we live in a world that is completely triggered. That's the best way I can explain it. And so you need to get ready. And you need to be ready. And you need to be vigilant, because you just never know what's lurking around the corner. And if somebody is willing to take a physical shot at you for something that you said that you truly believe in, and it's a scary world we live in where you would have to fear that. You're not going to start walking around with a gun or a knife or a baseball bat, but a heightened sense of alert is something that is good to have. Don't expect, don't believe everybody's your friend, and don't believe everybody has your best interest, because the minute you say something they don't like, the perfect thing would be for them to just walk away. But in this triggered world we live in, there just might be a confrontation. And that's some scary shit right there. Thank you for watching episode 15 of The Drive-By. Still called The Drive-By. And I really appreciate everybody watching on YouTube. Please don't forget to subscribe if you are on YouTube. Leave a comment. You don't always have to agree. I don't mind. I like when people disagree with things that I have to say. So leave a comment, like it, and subscribe on YouTube. You could even leave a comment on any of the audio platforms on Spotify. You could do that as well, or rate it, out of 5 stars, or leave a comment anywhere. Apple, Google, Amazon, and Podbean. And from the bottom of my heart, my wife always says, "Why do you always say from the bottom of your heart?" Obviously, it's from the bottom of your heart, because if you didn't mean it, you wouldn't say it. But from the bottom of my heart, thanks for tuning in. I need a beer sponsor. I don't want to beg. Cheers.
This is The Drive-By with Freeway Frank.
Watch all episodes of The Drive-By on YouTube. Listen in on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, Podbean, and tune in.